How's that, everybody? My name is Choi. I'm an account executive with Atlas Insurance. Welcome to another episode of Risky Business.
I'm Satterfield, Business Development Director at Atlas Insurance.
Keane Muranaka, Senior Claims Consultant at Atlas Insurance.
Keane is with our risk consulting, our client consulting services. Keane, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. I've been in the claim side for over 38 years and been with Atlas Insurance specifically for more than a decade.
Oh, pretty close to me then. A little bit more than me. Keane, we've been talking about association or condominium property insurance, and actually, Sean, can you tell us a little bit about the commercial property insurance? Kind of remind us of what are we talking about when we're talking about commercial property insurance?
Sure. So for commercial property, it's specifically on the master policies, the building itself. And what's important about that is in an association, you're paying for the master policies and the property. There really is a limited amount of admitted markets here in Hawaii, and that's those three. As a reminder, are Fireman's Fund. There's also Donbu, and the last one is FICO. And outside of that, you're in the excess markets. So we've had some interesting times over the past few years.
Right.
And
Most definitely.
Yeah, those times right now the markets have come down, and we've got some positive changes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So can you expand on that a little bit about on the claim side?
Well, on the claim side, we've seen the gamut. We've seen a lot of not admitted carriers come into the market. We've seen, the London market coming into play, and we've run into a lot of difficulty in dealing with all the different time zones and the different groupings. So it's a tough market out there.
Actually, another question I had, what's kind of unique about Hawaii specifically in terms of commercial property insurance? I know a lot of times we talk about hurricane insurance, but we live on an island. Can you just, either one of you, give us just a little insight into how you see that Hawaii is different maybe from the mainland or somewhere else? Yeah,
from the mainland, what's unique is that Hawaii, there's not a ton of options. We have a very unique situation because we're on a little tiny island. We're not open to a ton of markets, and so I think what's nice is that the ones that are in our markets more recently have been taking more capacity, and so they're allowing more capacity for the insurance, and that has bring down the prices because a lot of competition kind of came into our markets this past year, and so it's driving the prices down. So that's been a positive effect on our clients.
Right. And I think specifically for hurricane insurance, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of the insurers, at least lately, have been kind of seeing Hawaii as a way of diversifying the risk because the hurricanes hit the mainland all the time.
Yeah, in Hawaii, we don't have a lot of hurricanes. I mean, the last one was really Iniki, right, which was back in '91. So
right. None that have hit, right?
None have hit, right. We do have a lot that go around us, and you never know. But the good news is that a lot of them have been diversified in our market, so it's been positive. On the claim side, how do you think it is?
Claims is real difficult because we see all the difficulty with the master policies. Now we're having difficulty in the personal line side on the individual HO6 policies and dwelling fire policies, and now even the renters insurance prices are going up. So every which way you look at it, prices are going up. On the master policy side, the replacement cost provision issues are coming up. Just the replacement cost now is just exorbitantly higher. We're looking at 30-40% increases overall on our replacement costs.
Going back to those claims, maybe give us just a short list of common claims that we see?
Well, it depends. If you're looking at just the property side, the most common one obviously is the water damage claims. So so some of the commercial policies now have a separate deductible for AOP, which is all other perils versus the water damage. So the water damage deductibles have gone up, and it just depends on the individual riders. So the problem that I see is just frequency.
And I know for the deductibles specifically, was there any kind of interesting provisions or interesting kind of deductibles that you've been seeing that you kind of want to make the public known about?
Well, they're really going to have to really take a look at this and take a look at it with go through it a fine-tooth comb. We're seeing modified deductibles. We're seeing modified deductibles with maximum amounts. We're seeing, per unit deductibles. Generally, it's like $25,000. But you have these minimum deductibles that are really raising the floor and making it difficult for the personal lines carriers to be able to write the loss assessment coverage.
And what would be maybe a best practice for the board to consider, maybe in clarifying the deductibles? What would you recommend that?
Well, I think they're going to have to take a look at what their residents want and what kind of residents do they have. Do they have the snowbird type that are mainly investors that can afford the higher prices, or are these truly residents of the units? And if they are local residents, you're going to have to really take a look at what the maximum deductible should be. So per unit, I would say 25,000. Once you go above 25,000, if the maximum is 50, we still have a good market. But once it goes beyond 50, the 100, 250, and 500, personal lines is almost an impossibility to get for the individual unit owners at a reasonable price.
Right. And regarding, I guess for unit owner claims, maybe the best way to cover them is to spread it out. Would you think among all the unit owners versus?
That's an interesting question because under 514B, 143D, the associations have three choices. Number one, they can pay for it themselves. Number two, they can bill it to the source unit. Or number three, which is now becoming a little bit more popular, is proportionate share based on damages. And in those cases, it gets spread around all of the unit owners who are affected, but the innocent unit owners are really having a difficult time because they're looking at it going, I'm the innocent third party, but I'm being assessed a deductible that's going to come out of my pocket. Difficult to explain and make them accept. But it's probably the most reasonable outcome.
Right. And a lot of these things they have to do with statute, right? So they go back to the governing documents.
Right. So your governing documents, your statute is the highest, so that takes priority over your bylaws and your house rules. So when you develop it, get a good attorney that is familiar with association work to make sure that your decisions are sound and they can back it up. Because you don't want the D&O claims, right?
Yeah.
That goes after the board members.
Right. That's exactly what I was leading you towards.
Okay.
Consult that association counsel, right?
Yep.
Attorney.
Yep.
None of us are experts, but there are certain experts in certain fields. So.
And even with the attorneys, they make mistakes sometimes. And so, unfortunately, that's where the lawsuits come into play. And they go after the board members, individual owners do that, and it gets real difficult and gets very testy at times.
Yeah, Keane, one of the things that and we've talked about this with other, when we do our trainings to the board, the one thing to do that's most important is really the consistency.
Exactly.
Give some examples of how consistency in board decisions makes all the difference in the world.
Right. You cannot, base your decision based on who the claim involves. We've had situation, and I've handled lawsuits in situations where the association board members were part of the people that were damaged. And you cannot say, oh, I'm going to bill everything to the source unit, and then midstream make a change and says, oh, we're going to do proportionate share. You got to be consistent. Otherwise, you're just looking for problems. You're looking for lawsuits coming down the pike. So
Fairness.
The best thing, be consistent.
Yeah.
And when you make your changes, choose a date that maybe coincides with the policy renewal time. So you make it consistent.
Yeah. Fairness and consistency, right?
Yeah,
That's-
exactly.
Those are good principles. to
Don't play
apply.
favorites.
Keane, since you pretty much deal with the claims every day, right? It's part of
Right.
your job. Can you just run us through, let's say if we had a water damage in the building, all of our condominiums have water damage one time or another. Can you just run us through maybe details of how, the life of a claim,
Okay.
life cycle of a claim. So when it comes in to, when it's all done.
Actually, it would be better if the property manager and the association has a pre-plan in place. They have a plan, emergency plan in place. It would be best if they would get to know who their insurance carriers are ahead of time in the master policy, so that they can figure out who the master policy likes to deal with in terms of the water mitigation companies. So they can just come in and start running with the ball. The association needs to report it to the property manager. Property manager generally would report it to the master policy carrier. And the master policy, if they're local, they have their own on-the-ground adjusters. If not, if it's a mainland or not admitted, they'll probably have to assign it to a TPA, and that'll take time. So it's always best to have a plan in place, know who you're dealing with, and then it'll make the process go a lot smoother. So if they know that what companies they want to call in when a water damage happens, it might be much, much simpler if they know who to deal with and who to call.
Preferred vendors, right?
I preferred vendors, because then that way they'll get the benefit of having the best rates and kind of knowing what the carriers might want to accept. All right, so be familiar with your product.
So I think a lot in the beginning kind of deals with documentation. So what's kind of some things, or even Sean, you can speak to that too. What are some things that can be documented from the very beginning? Just keeping a file.
Start with you,
things.
Sean.
Document, basically, if you are having the newsletters really go out to the owners to make sure that they have their HO6 insurance.
Right.
Documentation on that as an example. Give me some other examples, Keane.
Okay, so also not just the unit owners, but also the renters, if they're occupied by renters. Because if the renters caused the damage or they caused the incident, left the tub running, for example, you'll have their renter's policy that might be able to contribute financially to the situation. And you kind of might need that, because damages on the average, I think you guys talked with Charlene last time, they average about 30,000, right? So it's going to be expensive. It's not cheap.
Right. And what about kind of documenting what happened?
Documentation-wise, if it's a plumbing blockage, have a plumber come in and have a plumber write up a report. Where was the blockage found? How far was it down? Is it in the main line, or is it in the unit owner's line? That'll make a big difference possibly on how they want to assess the deductible. So
Kind of determining where the source of the damage was,
exactly,
who was responsible
exactly.
for it, right?
Correct.
I think something that a lot of site managers and general managers do also is like an incident report.
Right.
So what kind of information is on there?
Incident
What's
report,
recommended?
obviously you want to note who the unit owner is, what time it occurred, what plumbing company you called. If you can document the times and obviously the dates and times, it's critical. If you can take good photos of the damages before you cut out the wall or break the wall down, it might be helpful. It might be helpful. It's not always needed, but it's always going to be useful. Pictures really can tell the story.
It's true. And it's important that if a claim does need to be filed, it has to be done pretty decently quick, right?
Right. You need to do it quickly. Also on the plumber's report, if they can get camera footage, if they can send a camera down the line to see what was the cause of the blockage, that might be also helpful.
Right. And why is that that it's better to report it sooner rather than later? Or does it give them an opportunity?
Well, you don't want the carrier to say, hey, you guys waited really, too long. There was a long delay in reporting it to us. You guys didn't start the water mitigation process early enough. Now there's all this extenuating mold issues that now creep up. So you kind of want to hit it early, get the ball running, and then it'll help them decide to, what were the as-built condition of the unit owner and the unit owners below, because if it involves 6 units, you're gonna have to do a lot of investigation. It's not gonna be clear cut.
Yeah. And a lot of it, I think, is the preparation, right? Beforehand, knowing what to do beforehand, but also kind of when the unit owners are just in it, when they're experiencing it. I think what they want to do is just try to prevent any further damage, right?
Right.
So that's when I think you mentioned about preferred vendors calling somebody to, if it's water damage, allowing them to take the water out, prevents mold,
Right.
other things from forming.
I think one good thing you brought up is that you have these experienced water remediation companies. They know that they need to take good photographs. It would be good if the carrier's representative can be there, because before they throw the cabinets out or rip out the carpets, they have the approval of either the TPA or the insurance carrier right then and there. And that way, when you get rid of the items, there's no discrepancy.
Right. You mentioned a term, TPA. Can you just clarify what that is?
TPA is third-party adjusters, and normally they are the mouthpiece of the carriers. They are the ones that will deliver the message from the carrier, and they're the intermediary that will deal directly with either the association or the unit owners and a lot of times the vendors.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Question on the adjusters, since you brought it up. What's the difference between the adjuster from the carrier and, let's just say, or the claims person and yourself?
Okay, so my job is a consultant. I'm just the middle person between the carrier, just to speed the process. And from a good, agency that allows us to be present, we can speed up the process. We've worked with the TPAs before, we worked with the carriers adjusters before. So it kind of helps speed up the process. And it's a real good benefit for, to have a local agency that's large enough to have a claims consultant on staff to help out the situation. If not, the insured may have to, go direct to the carrier, and they might not have a buffer, they might not have a sounding board, a person to talk it through, and just to give them good advice on what to do and generally what are best practices. So it's very helpful to have someone like us.
Yeah, one of the things that you had mentioned to me before, a little story that you told me of how you helped a client who the roof had kind of leaked, and they denied the claim,
Right.
but because you pointed out certain things, tell us that story.
Okay, so it was a large insured. There was a lot of water accumulation on the roof, and the roof actually bowed in. But they tried to say that it was surface water, that it wasn't because it was due to a covered peril that the loss wouldn't be covered. Excuse me. But when I looked at the details, what I found out was that the drain was actually blocked. And because of that, we were able to get the carrier to reverse that situation. And they covered all the resulting damages. And they paid a hefty price, but it was for our insurance benefit. And so my job is really to be an advocate for our insured, which is our client. So I got to put them in the best light and look at all the details and help them along. It's not always that the insurance carrier will see everything. And so it helps to have somebody like me to come and have a second set of eyes on the situation.
Yeah, truly having you working for our clients and making sure that the things, it's not that the carrier was going to deny because they made a mistake. Well, they didn't point out all the details. In that
Right.
case.
So the carrier may not spend all the time to really do a full investigation, but a lot of times they have a lot of claims to deal with, and so it's just we just got to help them along sometimes. They didn't really mean to do it that way, but it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, win for the client.
Win for the
sure.
client. You
Yeah.
gotta.
Thank
gotta
you
do
for
it.
all that you do for our clients, and
thanks.
hopefully, I hope some of them are listening. See how much we value you
Yeah.
as one of our representatives of our company and one of our colleagues, one of our
Thank
friends.
you. Thank you.
One thing that I wanted to mention as well, for consulting with our clients. So what is the basis for having an agent or a broker, or actually either of you can answer this in terms of a claim, helping with the process of getting through a claim. What does an agent or a broker do?
Well,
in that
I'll let
process?
Sean explain the agent part first, because procurement of the policies is really where it starts, right? So I'll let you start off with
Yeah,
that.
the agent is really important, and I think one of the real benefits at Atlas is that we have a team. So it's not just one person working just with one client. It's a number of us, and we all have our different roles. And some of us may see something that the other person doesn't. So it's really a team effort, making sure that the claim is done on time, making sure that we follow up with them, because that's where the ball gets lost a lot, is the follow-up.
Right.
We're not, we do a claim, but making sure that the adjuster comes in, the timing, and if the response isn't an untimely matter, sometimes it kind of goes unnoticed, and or a denial of claim because there wasn't a response. Yeah,
Keep each other accountable.
exactly. Keep each
Yeah,
other accountable.
and on my side, on the back end, I might come in and talk to them about maybe specifying a specific TPA. If I feel that they're using the wrong TPAs, and sometimes we run into roadblocks. So it's helpful if I can just provide on the back end, what to look for.
Yeah. I like how you kind of both mentioned about preparation and the procuring or obtaining the policy, right? The agent or the broker, that's their responsibility. Keane, how important is it to just kind of for the agent or the broker to just kind of understand what the operations, whether it's a business or in this case we're talking about AOAOs, why is it important for the agent to understand the things that an association may be potentially exposed to?
On the AOAO side, there's so many different facets that the associations can go through. You really need to know what the residents' makeup is. Having a good broker the broker will, and the agent will understand, what they really need and what markets to really look at, because not all markets like to write short-term rentals or that type. They might like the residents, or if it's a combined commercial endeavor, where you have commercial units on the bottom and residential on top. It just makes a difference to have a good quality broker.
Yeah, I would also add too that your agent really needs to understand the property.
Yes.
I think we do a very good job of putting the SOVs together, talking to the statement of values, inspecting the property, making sure we do a property walk, and identifying not only the losses and how to mitigate those losses, but also potential issues that can come up. I know one of our risk consultants have pointed out, there is a paint on one of the speed bumps, and it was too slippery because the wrong paint was used. So just the little things I think is important to point out, especially to keep the client from having any more claims and to mitigate some of those things for future issues.
Right. And also specifically, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Well, in having a good broker, guys, like the two of you, who understand the market, but also understand that you need to work with reputable vendors that will provide, proper certificates of insurance, the indemnification languages, the hold harmless agreements. You guys know what to look for. So I gotta say, you guys have a top-notch crew.
And who should the unit owners be communicating with from the outset regarding any claims? Not directly with the insurer, or who do they have to usually contact first?
Usually they would contact their agent. And that agent, hopefully that agency can provide the support. Because if they are a large enough agent that, lucky enough to have consultants, like the claims consultants, we can help them through the process.
And usually there's like a property manager or site manager involved too, right? They have to notify.
Yeah, it could get multi-level, because if it's a rental unit, you may have the unit owner's property manager need to consult with the property manager for the association. So it could get a little bit more complex. So it's just good to know who you're working with.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that insight and that information.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. We still talked about insurance, but one question I have for you: what's one of your favorite Aloha shirts that you wear?
Let's see. I have a Ren's one with that has scouting. My son was in scouting, and it's one of my favorites because the company has supported scouting. I've done a lot of work for the Boy Scouts in the past, so I really like working with them, and so I enjoy wearing that shirt every once in a while. So you'll see me with that Snoopy Ren shirt.
Yeah, you have to point it out to me next
Okay,
time.
I will.
I was hoping
I will.
that actually you were gonna say one of the Star Wars ones, but
Hey, you and my wife, yeah, you guys love Star Wars.
we do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Keane. Really
No
appreciate
problem.
all you do for us and for our clients.
I always enjoy the work.
Yeah, thank you, Keane.
I
Great
enjoy
job.
it.
Great
Thank
job
you.
today.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day.
Aloha.